Welcome to Silverstone and the F3 Cup Championship as we get towards the sharp end of the season. The cars on the formation lap for the 13th race of the year, one where a good result will give the F3 Cup title to Toby Sowry. Well, he's second on the grid behind invitation class runner Hywel Lloyd. And then row 2, Tristan Cliff, the double winner from Brands Hatch, and Louis Hamilton-Smith, who always goes well here at Silverstone. Overcast conditions for the drivers as the red lights come on, the revs rise, and away we go. It's a super start from Sowry, who rockets off the line as he looks to challenge Hywel Lloyd as the pair of them turn into copse for the first time. Tristan Cliff, meanwhile, swamped by both Henry Chart and Louis Hamilton-Smith as they accelerate out of copse and head uphill ever so slightly towards Beckett's. Lloyd racing this weekend in the F308 Lara, which will be eligible for the F3 Cup next season, so an opportunity for the other competitors to size up some of the new cars the championship are going to perform. And as they head down the Wellington Straight for the first time, Tristan Cliff looking to challenge Henry Chart on the brakes into Brooklands, gains the place from Chart as Lloyd and Sowry run nose to tail. Lloyd, of course, who's raced previously in the British Formula 3 International Series with his CF Racing concern, always punching well above his weight relative to pounds spent on the car versus performance, and he leads over the line to complete the first lap. Toby Sowry in second place, but the first points paying places then it's Hamilton-Smith, Tristan Cliff and Henry Chart. We get back to Mark Harrison as Tony Bishop in the championship and going strongly. It's a dizzyingly short lap here at the Silverstone National Circuit, which always used to be the traditional curtain raiser. The British Formula 3 Championship is a spin for Henry Chart at Beckett's. The rear of the car breaks traction and around he goes. He's going to recover just in behind Tony Bishop. He might also lose out here to Lee Morgan as well. Well, the 2007 BARC Formula Renault champion Hywel Lloyd leads the way. Toby Sowry in his debut season of car racing has gone fantastically well. It's got Louis Hamilton-Smith and Tristan Cliff, though, beginning to try and breathe down his neck as they flash across the start and finish line once more into another lap, and then through Copse Corner. Silverstone, a fine venue for racing Formula 3 cars because lots of quick straights, quick turns. You've got a slightly tighter section at Luffield, at Beckett's as well, which really tests the aerodynamic properties of the cars. So accelerating out of Beckett's, and then the long run towards Brooklands. Lloyd at the moment just managing his pace to Sowry. Sowry keeping him honest. Toby being given the hurry up here by the fact that Louis Hamilton-Smith and Tristan Cliff, as you can see, are really not too far back. So around the never-ending right-hander at Luffield, the corner really does last for an eternity before sprinting through Woodcote. Never since they moved the barrier back there, it's just a slightly less daunting proposition than it once was. Then Cox was almost flat out in the Formula 3 car. His leading quartet breaking well clear. It's Mark Harrison who heads the next group of cars. Tony Bishop, Stuart Wiltshire, and then the recovery as best he can, Henry Chart. Chart spinning early on, looking to try and make the move on Wiltshire into Beckett's. He finds space to the inside. The MotorSport run driver slips through, gains the place. Stuart Wiltshire, though, in the tow towards Brooklands, might just be able to hang on. Sowry makes a slight mistake at Brooklands, and for the first time, Hywel Lloyd just able to open up more than a car or so's length worth an advantage over the rest of the field. So we've got two groups of 4 at the front of the pack. Stuart Wiltshire still staying with them. Then it's Lee Morgan, who is to the fore of the next gaggle. So into Copse Corner once more, the leading quartet. What can Tristan Cliff do? Very talented driver, Tristan. Drove supremely well the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit last time out. Tony Bishop closes up onto the tail of Mark Harrison. Henry Chart trying to stay with them. It means that that trio just beginning to ease clear of Stuart Wiltshire through Beckett's, and Harrison just runs a little bit wide. Now, is that going to be the opening for Tony Bishop as they accelerate along the National/Wellington Straight, depending on which guys of the circuit's in use? And Harrison, you can see, covering the inside line. He's trying to deter the progress of Tony Bishop, and to good effect. Bishop can't find a way past him. And it backs Tony Bishop up as a result in into the clutches of Henry Chart, who's looking every which way. But Mark Harrison doing exactly what he needs to do, which is sticking precisely to the racing line, making those behind him do all the hard work. Oh, and an entanglement, and it's Oliver Ray and Nick Robinson who've come together. And that's a great shame. It's damaged the suspension of Oliver Ray's car. So that is his race run. Robinson might be able to move onward as Jonathan Weston-Taylor arrives into Copse Corner. We return once more to the fight for fifth. An excellent scrap it is. Still, Mark Harrison prevails, despite all the efforts of Tony Bishop and the hard-charging Henry Chart behind him. But Chart just has to be wary that he spun earlier on, because the slicks and wing single-seaters have all the grip in the world until they have absolutely none at all. And Tony Bishop's making a big ask of the available grip into Brooklands, but he can't force his way to the inside. And again, just caught out there is Henry Chart. Around he goes. Quick spin, he might even recover that without the loss of places. He does get demoted by Stuart Wiltshire, but immediately gets back on it. And that's the real key, and he's going to move past Wiltshire as well. The real key to these cars is just knowing the moment when the grit's about to run out, as Bishop finally makes the move to the inside of Mark Harrison into Copse Corner. An overtaking manoeuvre several laps in the making, as the marshals try to remove Oliver Ray's car. You can see damage to the rear left suspension. It means that this section of the circuit covered by double waved yellow flags. As the leading quartet move through, no change in that order by the way. So it is still Hywel Lloyd from Toby Sowery, and then Louis Hamilton-Smith up ahead of Tristan Cliff. And Hywel Lloyd controlling proceedings to perfection. The Lara F308 for connoisseurs of Formula 3 chassis, for me, is one of the best looking ones of recent years. It doesn't quite have the winglets or the droopy nose of the F312. That said, Toby Sowery's 2005 example, also a fine looking car. Louis Hamilton-Smith, well, he's in Lara F307, as is Tristan Cliff just in behind him, as Henry Chart's recovery drive continues, and a brave move on the way into Beckett's, and Chart forces his way past Mark Harrison. Very nice driving that from Henry Chart. Meanwhile, the fight for third is really beginning to heat up, because Tristan Cliff closing up onto the tail of Louis Hamilton-Smith. The pair of them have been at the forefront of the F3 Cup for the past few seasons. Both very talented drivers and both very personable outside the car, as indeed are Hywel Lloyd and Toby Sowery. The pair of them continue to lead. And Tristan Cliff, who arguably gives the best interview in motorsport, in fourth place, closing in onto the tail of Louis Hamilton-Smith in car with Tristan now. You can see how committed these guys are, getting off the throttle, moving down through the gears after turning through the left-hand kink at Maggots, and then picking up the pace almost immediately with the explosive run down the National Straight on the way towards the left-hander at Brooklands. Tristan Cliff right underneath the rear wing of Louis Hamilton-Smith, pair of them through the left-hander, using all the curve that they can, and then around the right-hander at Luffield. Smith, who's won F3 Cup races here on the Silverstone National circuit. Or Lloyd, who would have raced here in BARC Formula Renault, probably not the British Formula 3 International Series, which has raced the national circuit for nearly 20 years or thereabouts. Just wagging the tail ever so slightly there, Tristan Cliff, as he tries to close up once more onto the tail of Louis Hamilton-Smith. But you can see that Hamilton-Smith just sticking to the racing line. Again, it makes life very difficult for Tristan Cliff, because he can get right up behind Hamilton-Smith, but then he's in the turbulent air of the car in front. That can be really quite challenging to overcome. But Cliff looks to the inside of Hamilton-Smith now into Brooklands. Is he going to force the issue? He does. That's a lovely move from Tristan Cliff. Very late on the brakes, a slight correction as he turns in. It's enough to make the pass, and up into third place for Tristan Cliff. Puts him second in the points-paying places, but unfortunately, Toby Sowery is in second, but the first of the Cup class runners. That means that Sowery is currently doing enough to claim the crown. Another spin for Henry Chart. It's just been one of those races, and it can happen if you get out of a rhythm during a race. Just nothing seems to go right. Unfortunately, Henry Chart is having one of those afternoons. So around Beckett's, the third place continues, but Hamilton-Smith just beginning to slip, probably 3 car lengths or so back from Tristan Cliff, and it's going to be challenging to overhaul. They're getting in amongst the traffic. Jonathan Weston-Taylor in his 2001 Delara. He's already been lapped by Hill Lloyd. He's about to go a lap down to Toby Sowery as we move towards the latter stages of this race. And it's never really opened up as a race. It's only now, as we've got a couple of laps to run, that Hill Lloyd is easing clear of Sowery. It's been the pace that Sowery has run with. And Sowery in turn just beginning to ease away from Cliff in third place. Harrison, meanwhile, has got the recovering Henry Chart coming back at him once more. Tony Bishop has romped off into the distance. There's Tony through Brooklands, no problems for him. This has been a really nice, consistent drive for Tony Bishop. Great driver, he's just had one or two more wayward moments in the Enlikers. Henry Chart trying to force the move through Luffield. He might just make it stick, because if he gets enough momentum coming out of the corner, he'll have the inside line for Woodcote, and more importantly, the inside line for Copse Corner. Smart Harrison, the white car to the right-hand side, the red machine of Henry Chart to the inside, and Chart should go through. Indeed he does. Again, Harrison just gets forced out onto the marbles. The grip breaks away from him, and then it starts to become very difficult. A pair of them heading around Beckett's. While our race leader, Hill Lloyd, getting in amongst the traffic, he has now got quite an advantage over Toby Sowery. Sowery is poised to claim the 2014 F3 Cup title. It's been a dominant season from Sowery. It's a title that he richly deserves. So the checkered flag goes out. Hill Lloyd takes the race win, but Toby Sowery, to the light of the Lannan Racing team, takes the title. Second place amongst the Cup class runners, third on the road for Tristan Cliff. Another podium for Tristan, and Louis Hamilton-Smith following through in fourth. So look then at the results. Hill Lloyd victorious from Toby Sowery and Tristan Cliff. Louis Hamilton-Smith in fourth. Jonathan Weston-Taylor completes the top 10, and he wins the trophy class. So into Parc Ferme, and the celebrations can begin for Lannan Racing and Toby Sowery. Tristan Cliff, he's been chasing Sowery all year long, but he just hasn't quite had enough to match the former Carter's pace. Handshake and congratulations between the two title protagonists. So Jonathan Weston-Taylor and Hill Lloyd celebrate on the top step of the podium with their respective class wins, and then our new champion Toby Sowery taking his place on the top step of the F3 Cup podium.
For first season, it means the world to me, and Lannan have produced a brilliant car for me all year. Data, help, engineering, everything has been flawless, so I'm really happy.
You've had 9 wins this year. Did you expect that at the start of the season?
No, definitely not. I thought maybe we'd be pushing for a win later in the season, but to come in and win from the word go has been phenomenal for me. I'm sure everyone else involved has been over the moon as well.
How good has it been also driving a F3 car in your first year?
Amazing. If you told me 2 years ago that I'd be driving an F3 car for my first season in car racing, I would have said no, or bit your hand off it or an offer. But it's been an amazing learning experience, and the car's been fantastic.
I think it's a great starting point for guys coming from karting to cars without a massive budget. To learn cars and a real race car at this level is just brilliant.
Sowery wins the title, but who'll win race 2? Find out in a couple of moments after the break.